Hey y'all, it is Moonlight Cowboy. Today we're going to cover 25-ish tricks that I feel will help you in the new Relaxed Building update with your building. Certain tricks are going to be a little bit more antiquated. For instance, you're not going to need to worry about using the angled walls from the Blue Ridge set to have to merge into rocks and whatnot, but there are still a lot of tricks that we're going to need to do. And there's also some cool new tricks and blueprints that you'll be able to see in this video that I feel will be able to help you with your building style, your building acumen, create the really cool builds that you have always wanted to do, but maybe had some trepidation along the way because some of the tricks are a little daunting or taxing or just plain difficult to learn, right? So any of the ways, that notwithstanding, the first one is favorited items. So in this one, pretty simple. All I really do is I take down all the items I tend to use in a build, right? These are a lot of the items I like to use in builds. And then I will just blueprint that. And then I can then use that kind of like an artist would use a palette when they are building. So I'm going to place a new camp here. And once that's done, I can pull out my blueprint, place it out of the way over off to the side, somewhere over here. And all I would do at this point is just take all those items and put them back into my inventory so that way they would be out of the way. So the next one, this one's really fun. This one is upper floor merging. So all you need to do is blueprint whatever you want to like merge into your upper floor. And then you would make sure snapping is on. And then when you go place the blueprint, it's not going to automatically snap to the other floor that you wanted to snap to. So when you do it at a higher or lower, that will be determinant on where it snaps, like how far those items go in. So I did it pretty high there. See, the bathtub goes all the way in. I could see a scenario where somebody would use this, especially if they were really close to the ground and they couldn't get the item to merge down because it's too close to the ground. You can also do it in reverse right here, where you make it snap up and those items are flowing. I don't know why you would do that. But anyways, that is merging with upper floors. For this next trick, shout to Thor Odinsotter. I think she's the one that came up with it. It's a really great trick. I also use the Akira's trick as well, but this one seems to also work very fast. So essentially I hover over it, the camp module, and I just spam it repeatedly just by clicking pick up, put down, until eventually it will duplicate itself and sit on top of itself, as you'll see here in a second. And then once it does that, you can just move it over to the side, out of the way, because there's two camps in there. You want to move the other one. It makes it easier. See, I try and set the camp down, and the trick won't necessarily work. But if I move it over there, and then I try and there we go. See, I can place it no problem. When you're up in your building, this is a really handy trick. You just got to be handy with that jump button and maybe have a jetpack on. Now, we know how to spam our camp device so we can float our camps. Thank you again to Thor. But what happens if you're on the ground and you failed to get you failed to get a good spawn location? You don't want to do that, right? Because you want to be able to fast travel up to your camp. A few things you can do. You can use catwalks like I'm using here. You can also use stairs. I believe you'll be able to use upper floors and foundations, obviously, as well to land at your camp. So you know, any one of those things, those are items that the game considers physically ground, like meaning that it like based on the physics, it considers it a landing spot, like as if it were on the ground or terrain. So notice I just fast traveled up here, and this is exactly where I landed. So you know, handy piece of information if you are building a sky camp. Now, let's say you forgot to do all of those things. And I've heard mixed results that this works on some consoles or platforms and not others. Essentially what I'm doing is I'm going to jump onto this turret. I'm going to pick it up. Then I'm going to jump. And then when I'm jumping and in midair, I'm going to rotate my left joystick. And as you can see, I go basically all the way up into the sky, almost as high as the map will let you. Now it becomes a matter of making sure you land on the spot. The other key thing that you will need to do this is either like have some form of goat legs or armor that defends you from dying and fall damage like I just did, or power armor of something of the like. You can control your ascent by releasing that the turret earlier. Like, watch, I'm going to release it now, and I'm not going to go as high. Right? So then I know I can land on this thing. Again, I'm going to die because I don't have goat legs or any of those things. But that's a handy trick to get up if you have a sky camp that you can no longer get to. Coming up next, I have a really cool trick, and this one, I'm not sure where I got this from. I don't think I figured this out on my own. It might have been Alex P that showed me, but I'm not sure. So this is walls inside of walls. You have a couple of walls, such as the pit wall, the corroded concrete wall, and the ranch set when they're in doorway mode. Those sets you can place another wall inside of the wall. As you saw when I was putting those walls there, it allowed it to turn green. See? So I can turn them green as long as it's not the same wall that was already there. So you have to kind of change up the type of wall that it is, and then you'll be able to place those walls. See how clean and crisp you can get that in there? And you're asking yourself, why would I want to do that, Moon? Then you're not going to really see the wall, because some walls, well, they have textures, or they have glass. See, I was able to put windows in there, or I have the corroded concrete where I put an enclave wall in there. It kind of locked it up, but made it so you couldn't see through it, but still gave it that really cool texture. So I'm not going to teach you how to make a round blueprint, but you have a friend out there that has one. If you do not have a friend that has one, go make that friend. Get out, touch grass, make friends. Somebody has a round blueprint. For the next part here, I'm just adding full-length catwalks all the way around the round blueprint, and then half-length catwalks around the same blueprint. The purpose of doing this is because we want to get a round stairs blueprint. Makes a really good spire or tower or something of the like. Adding stairs, of course, I wasn't smart. You can't use these stairs to do the blueprint for some reason. I think they're too big. So I swapped those out for something thinner. So as long as it's like a smaller set of stairs, you should have no problem getting this blueprint to work. Make sure, by the way, when you have some of these blueprints, you'll want to do it in free place mode, not in snap mode, because then the stairs might try and snap to each other. And then I just blueprint all 16 stairs, because the typical round blueprint is 16-sided. And yeah, I'm able to place it no problem. You can do a lot of cool things, like make a tiki hut. So this one is the round upper floor blueprint that we came up with. Very simple. I'm going to kind of fly through this a little bit on fast mode, because really the hard part of this is the struggle of just getting the floors to like snap in. Because what they're doing is they're looking for snapping points, and they're just going to go for the first one that's available or the easiest one to get to. So you kind of got to rotate it and move yourself around a little bit so that way it's snapping in correctly. The other thing you can do with this too, if I wanted to, I could just keep going in like that and keep it going the same kind of round. But what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to follow the pattern below, and I'm just going to do it square. What I mean is right here, I'm just going to add a square in the middle, and then I'm going to do 9 other ones around it, because this blueprint has it's sunken in the middle just slightly. You just got to make sure you're clipping to the right upper floor. And then once you do that, you can just snap the other, 4 or 5 in there. And yeah, now I have an upper floor blueprint. The only catch is we're going to want to use, we can get rid of that glass wall here in a second. We're not going to want to use those walls. Otherwise, you're stuck to making that blueprint like stand up by the length of the wall. Instead, we're going to put the walls on top here. That'll give us some more flexibility. And I'm just doing these little half walls. They could be any walls. It's not anything in particular. And then we just blueprint the whole thing here. Go around and blueprint everything. And it's just a lot of blueprinting, but I mean, it really wasn't that hard to do. That's why I moved it into kind of speed mode, because it's just tedious. But I mean, anybody could do this. This doesn't take any real trickery, as long as you have the right blueprint for it, right? So, again, you might have multiple friends that have a round blueprint. If you do, find the one that has the best one, and be nice. Like, oh wow, your round blueprint's really amazing, and maybe not use that one, right? Because you don't want to be rude about it. But then look for like the one that has the excellent one. And there, now you have an upper floor round blueprint that you can use. And there's not a lot of flickering to it in mine because I found somebody who had a really nice round blueprint. And you can do some pretty crazy stuff with it. So again, that round blueprint is going to be very useful for a lot of things like the stairs, upper floors, what have you. So this is a trick that you're still going to need to learn or still need to use, which is how to move items into the water. So I'm going to place this little globe. Oh, darn, I can't place it in the water. There's several items you can place in the water. I picked the main three that people use, which is the pressure plate, the stump, and then the Nuka-Cola sign poster that's on like the stick. But as you can see, as long as I put those items onto essentially the camp items I want to put in the water, I put it onto one of those, then I can put it into the water, no problem. As you see here, I can't put the sign in the water. It says can't be underwater, and of course I can now with this. So for situations where you would be putting an item underwater and you would still need to use the floating trick with the camp device. So I'm not going to cover that really in this video, but floating your items with your camp device is still going to be critical if you plan on putting items like in the water like that. Now we can also place items on land from the water using the same technique but reversing it. So right here I've got that item. It will not allow me to place it on the ground even with the new Relaxed Building update. And then I can just grab it once it's on there. And again, this would be another reason for me to use the camp device to float that item up. Because if I don't use that camp device to float the item up, then you're always going to see that pressure plate forever because it's just so close to the item itself. So rather, I could foundation merge it down, which I'm going to do in a minute, and that's something we will still use as well, and I'll go over that more later. But as you can see, I'm just using my camp device, and I'm floating it up into the sky. And then I could merge it down into the foundation itself, or I could destroy the item, or there's a lot of different ways, especially with the Relaxed Building update. I end up doing the merge with the foundation, as you see here, with the pressure plate, and that got that item down to where I wanted it to be for the purposes of this video. Pretty easy stuff. And now I could have one of those water purifiers up on land. I think that that can be really cool especially for a scrappy type build. So this is one that we're also going to need to do still, is be able to get underground. You can't just fall through the earth. I mean, you can. It's Bethesda, and I love you, Bethesda, but yes, you can still fall through the earth sometimes. So in this case, all I did was I just put a base, cello type thing, and I put it on the stairs. And then I used varying height foundations to be able to get that underground. There's a lot of different ways to get underground. I'm just showing you one technique. There's 3 or 4 that you can use now that are really good. I actually covered a couple in my last video on Relaxed Building Update. So I encourage you to check that out. I think I'll leave a link for that in the description as well. So power management, I'm not going to go over this super in depth. But you will also need to be able to hide your power as well, unless you just want a bunch of power lines running through your camp. Some people do. That's fine. I'm not one of those people because I build clean, but there are purposes for you to have power lines in your camp, and I get that. That said, I like to put my power underground typically. And one main way to do that is just to get under there, build a little platform, and put it there. You can also run your conduits underground. Sometimes they'll pop up above ground, in which case you would probably just use a little roof platform or a foundation underground to put your conduits so they don't pop up above ground. And then we can just connect those conduits to this generator right here. And then we will have power where we need it to be up there. I do highly recommend, if you don't have the utility generator and you're like, I'm not giving Bethesda any of my money, give them the money for the utility generator and still the catwalks. And then you will have, it'll still be a lot easier for you to build. But notice these things kind of popped up a little bit. So if I had put them on a roof platform, or, you know, if I judged the time, like where they were at underground a little easier, I probably would have not had that issue. Another thing that we can do here is the double wall blueprint. And what we're going to do here, there's two schools of thought with this. So the first school of thought is, if you never plan on having your walls on uneven ground at all, you can just take the double wall and you can just blueprint the two walls, because we don't need to have the anchor item anymore because of the Relaxed Building update. I can just go over to my blueprints here, and then I can free place it just fine right there. Easy peasy. Now, if you plan on putting this your double wall blueprint onto uneven ground, you're going to get uneven walls. Notice it's slightly uneven. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to show you a better example as we go like more on an incline. Yeah, see how that popped up like that? That's because the walls are going to naturally follow the terrain. The reason they're following the terrain is they have nothing to hold them in place besides you wanting to place it there. So in these circumstances, you will still want to use like vines or catwalks to keep your walls in place. For the double walls, you will still want to use your vines. It's just way easier. If you have the vines, use them. If not, yeah, sorry, that you should have them. Anyhow, so yeah, now I just blueprint all four, the two vines, the two walls. And when I do that, I can place this blueprint very easily if it's visible to me. This visibility thing where you like it won't let you build because you can't see what you're building with your character is Bethesda, you need to change that like stat. Like really, that's like super duper annoying for all of us, especially like those of us who do like some real intricate builds. Please change that right away. Anyways, yeah, I was able to place it though once I moved my character into place where I could see it, or I moved the blueprint in a place where my character could see it. Yeah, and that looks pretty good. So now we have double walls that we can place anywhere. Now back to power. I wanted to show you foundation merging real quick. I do believe this is something we will still be using for the purposes of being able to hide things like power, or it, like especially if the item is going to be low to the ground. Like you can just place an item inside of an item now, right? That's why I didn't cover merging too much, like with a pressure plate. But you will still need to like get your power in a place where you would hide it, unless you're planning on having your foundations like halfway up above the ground. You will still want to have that generator hidden. And I just drug down by grabbing that corner there of the foundation when it was snapped to another foundation. And if you look at it correctly and you do it right, you have no problem getting that in. Again, this is one of those tutorials where there's plenty of videos out there with foundation merging. You can just check out one, but I just showed you the basics of it. Okay, so now we get to some more complicated stuff. This is wall spacing, and this is a shout out to Lucy Jane Plays. She actually commented on one of my videos recently, and she's like, oh yeah, you must have forgotten that there was a way to do this, and she was right, I did forget. So now I'm going to use her tutorial, basically how you can foundation, or place walls at quarter intervals without catwalks. See, I was able to use those stairs posts to then move those foundations into place. They kind of go into each other now pretty easily. And notice I can get a quarter length away with the walls. I still do prefer using catwalks, but this is more for those people who do not have them. However, if you are looking to, do spacing, you want something super easy and you don't care about it being quarter length away, you can use these half floors to then do spacing with your walls as well, because they now work in the same method as a catwalk does. Yeah, and that's pretty easy to do. Just put them on top. So now I'm going to get into conduit usage. I still see a scenario where we're going to use the conduit ladder. And this is one that I know I'm sure other people have done before me, but I feel like I did a really good job with my iterations of it. So the other nice thing too is we'll be able to blueprint this whole thing and just place it wherever we want when it's done, as you will see. So first things first, I'm just making sure that everything's aligned. I'm going to take off that table there, and then I'm going to place the first conduit on the top little points on this fence. You can use a like the stairs posts, something like that, if you want. If you want to use those as ladder items as well. I really like the way that these look as far as these little fence posts. I think they look really good as a ladder, so I use them quite often. So I've done a tutorial on this before, and before, with the physics of the game, I didn't have to go like one and then two more out, so using 3 conduits each time. But with this new Relaxed Building update, it looks like we will do 3. That's no problem. So what I'm doing is I'm basically taking it over. As you see, I move that conduit over, and then I'm going to remove this middle one, and then I'm just going to turn, or I'm just going to pick it up. And when I pick it up, it's going to go straight to straight down to the next table, as long as it's not in like free mode, right? And then I just snap another conduit on either side. See that? And then I drop it down again by just picking it up. And then I add my next conduits. Remove that middle one, remove the conduit in the table, bring the other conduit in by 2 more, remove the middle, and then pick it up, and it'll automatically drop down to the to the exact spot just below, instead of like, you know, trying to guess and having your rungs of your ladder being like all over the place. This is the most accurate method that I have found to be able to get your ladder to work and be perfectly even all the way down. Again, we're just going to follow the same methodology going down. And now we are just going to add our conduit. Again, really easy stuff, right? Like, I didn't speed this up. Like, I'm actually moving this through this fairly slow for me. But I would imagine this is how fast most people would build this. So again, it's not taking a really long time. One of my favorite parts about this Relaxed Building update is a lot of this stuff you will do one time, and then you won't really need to do it again. For instance, this ladder, right? I did it too high. Like 2 posts high. If I wanted to do 4 posts high, I could just blueprint this thing and then add another ladder on top of that ladder to make a longer ladder. As long as I have a really good idea of where, to make sure it's not off by any pixels, I can just do some crazy stuff like that. So now I'm just removing all the excess conduits, and then I'm going to remove that top one, because that top one was kind of the placeholder, and then I'm just going to go ahead and repair those posts. Now on that one side, I can see metal, like little rounds from it poking out of one side. But again, with the Relaxed Building update, I can just kind of drag this post out just a touch, and that'll fix that. And then I think that turned out really nice. And you could use like the other posts too, just not the clean white post. That one doesn't work very well. And then of course you can blueprint that and place it wherever you want. Now double roofs. So this is one that was a little disappointing, because you are still going to need to destroy a roof in order to place the next roof and get the layered effect. And the reason being is the visibility. If you notice, even though I can see it, it says it's not visible to me. So I am going to have to destroy that roof so that way I can get this other roof in. Not end of days, but it was one of those things I was really excited about. Like, oh, I won't have to destroy as many roofs when I'm doing some of these intricate roof builds. And the purpose of this blueprint is just so that way the underside of your roof, which is often hideous, can be covered up with a pretty underside roof, like say the Clean Ranch that has a really nice clean under the roof. Or if you're like a scrappy builder and you just want to add more texture, you could do it that way too. Now we're going to get to some things that are a little bit more complicated. And these are some things that I created while I was in this, what I'll call lab of learning some of these things. So the first one is something you may have seen before. This is what we call roof stacking. So roof stacking essentially is being able to layer roofs on top of each other, one after the other, after the other, after the other, to where they sit directly flush on top of each other without a lot of flickering, or where they just sit just inside of each other, I should say. So in a nutshell, what I'm doing is I angled one roof up, and you're going to see this several times. But I angled a roof up, added a half wall, angled a roof up, added a half wall, and then added a flat roof, and then walked it back down. In a nutshell. The way I used to do it before, you used to have to destroy a lot of roofs to get this to work. Nowadays, you don't have to, because it just makes it a lot easier to do this. See, it sits right on top of each other. With a different roof set, that would actually be completely encapsulated. There would be no light gaps. So as you see, angled roof, half wall, angled roof, half wall, or half wall, I mean half roof. Angled roof, half wall, angled roof, half wall, and then flat roof. And then now I just walk that down. And again, this is fairly simple. And I'm going to do this about 5 times. And I'll show you why. I don't think you need to do it a lot more than that. You can. But you can always add, once this blueprint is done, you can always add more to it. Now there's going to be 2 types of this blueprint. One is for the roofs, and one is going to be for the floors. That's why it said thicker on this one, as TNG would say, thicker. And that's why we have 2 blueprints. One is for the floors, which will actually be thinner than the roofs. The roofs are a little bit thicker. But we're going to go 5 high with it, and you'll see what I'm talking about. I went a little faster now, since I feel like you guys can get that technique down pretty. It's just basically systematic. That's all that it is. And so I did 5, and I'm going to blueprint those. Now, I'm doing this knowing full well that there's going to be a major issue with this blueprint. And you will find this with most of these type blueprints. When I try and place this blueprint right now, watch what happens. Oh no, it's completely screwed up. Why is that? So just like with when we saw the double walls, it needs an anchor, not an anchor, but it needs something else to clip it in to hold it in place. So in this case, I'm going to add, even though I don't want those other roofs, like as soon as I place this blueprint, those other roofs would go bye-bye. I still need to add them to hold them in place. I could have added walls to this, but that would make this blueprint really complicated. Instead, I'm just going to add the roofs. So instead of being 5 roofs, it's going to be 10. But now watch. What it does is it holds that placeholder for me. And then I can place it no problem. They don't go all over the place. What happens is they're trying to snap to each other. And that's what that looks like. If you ever want to do any kind of roof stacking, I do recommend it. I think you can make some really cool builds. We'll see those later. Now I'm going to show you the catwalk version of this. And there's a method to my madness. So we're going to do this same blueprint, but we're going to add catwalks. We're going to make it out of catwalks. So what I did was essentially I took the top roof and I added a half wall, and then I added a small catwalk. Then I destroyed that small catwalk and added 2 more catwalks. And this is, you're like, what in the actual F are you doing, Moon? This is crazy. So watch. I added that next wall to the roof below that first one. And then I'm going to add the catwalk. And then I'm going to destroy said catwalk. I'm going to add 2 more catwalks. And then I'm going to delete that destroyed catwalk. The reason for that is because I want those 2 catwalks to stay, so I added 2. But by destroying that first one, I was able to remove the other, just to remove it without removing the other catwalks. So I messed up. I messed up. So I have to destroy this catwalk, because if I don't destroy this catwalk, I add the other catwalks and then I remove it. The other catwalks are going to go away too. Again, you're probably wondering, like, what the heck. But when you see this, I think you'll be pretty pleased with this. So we still maintain this one roof, this roof stack, because we can just make, like, buildings out of roofs if we want to, right? But this catwalk is going to do something really cool, in my opinion, real soon. We're almost done with it too. And then we're just going to break it again. And all we're doing really, again, angling up the roofs, dropping that wall down one, adding our next series of catwalks, making sure the first one is destroyed, then adding the other two catwalks, removing the destroyed one, and moving down to the next one. All right. And yeah, gotta destroy it. Add both catwalks. Remove that one. And then we are virtually done with the blueprint that we're making. You can make this bigger if you want. I don't see a need to. Not to have a whole bunch of blueprints of varying heights. But you can make this one bigger if you chose to. It wouldn't hurt my feelings. But yeah, now we have essentially 10 catwalks there, 5 and 5, side by side. And the same reason why we do the roof blueprint with the side by side, we're doing the catwalks. So that way they don't jump all over the place. I'm just going to blueprint all of those puppies. Make sure I got them all. Should be good to go there. We're going to save that blueprint. And just make sure we can place it. Yep. Alright, so now you guys get to see what this cool little thing does. Oh, I also wanted to show you real quick with the stairs. See how there's a little bit of spacing between the stairs there? You can barely see it. You'll see here why we go to the other, the thinner version of this here in a little bit. This is what I was telling you. This is what you can build with those, when you layer the roofs like that. I built this a while back. I got a lot of acclaim for this. A lot of people really like this. So thank you for those who really enjoyed this build. But essentially, yeah, you can make entire buildings out of those roof stacks. So it's not just, you're not just stacking roofs to stack roofs. So this is why we wanted to use this this catwalk blueprint for stairs. So now we're going to make a set of stairs out of roofs. And essentially, what I did is I just added a half wall to the bottom catwalk and then added an angled roof to the bottom of that. Then I'm going up with a catwalk to the very next level of my blueprint. I'm adding the next one, the next roof. And look, it's a quarter length away. Now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to go up one, and now I'm going to add a second catwalk to that first catwalk that I added to the blueprint. And yeah, we're creating stairs, and they will sit right on top of each other because we of the way that we did our blueprint, the initial blueprint with the roof, because they're that perfect level where they're touching each other and they're not really flickering through each other, right? And I just did this one 5 high. But again, remember I said, hey, you don't necessarily need to go much higher than that. Now you will see why. I mean, you can, but we have 5 stairs here. And I'm going to get rid of this blueprint. I'm going to get all of that out of the way. And that looks really cool. Like, we'll be able to use stairs. Again, just like with the other blueprints, we're going to add, like, a next door neighbor to the initial roof set because we don't want it to just, like, fall all over the place. See, we'll be able to add it. And notice I was able to add it to the blueprint I currently have as well, which is why we don't need to have a bunch of, like, I'd say 5 is the sweet spot. But, yeah, I could just add another blueprint, and it's going to snap to itself. And we can get funky with it, too. We're gonna like, take some chances here in a minute. We're going to have some fun with this. But, yeah, I got that to be up pretty much higher. I'm removing these roofs knowing full well I'm just going to do them the other way. I just wanted to see what that looked like first. I think that looks pretty cool. And I'm just adding these roofs again because I'm just going to blueprint it again. Which is why, again, I don't think you need to go up super high with the catwalks. You can just make another blueprint for the height that you want. Also, it takes about 8 to reach a half wall height, in case you were curious, for the roofs. Well, watch what I'm doing here. See, I turned that into a corner roof, and I added another corner roof. See, now, because I did that, the roof is going the opposite direction there. What does that mean, y'all? I can do a corner staircase, which is not something we have a lot of. Yeah. So now I can get rid of that pesky roof right there. And it's a little too far over. So what I can do is just, because it went one full level of roofs over, is just add my next set of roofs. Oop, I missed one. But you can usually go in and kind of squeeze it in there. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And because I have those roofs side by side like that right now, I don't need this other set. I'll probably end up adding the steps in front anyway. That way it's not as wide on the side like that. That's personal preference. Make sure all the roofs, though, have a neighbor that they're connected to. Otherwise, it's going to screw up your blueprint. And now I'm just going to blueprint this funky thing. And I think this comes out pretty cool. Watch this. So yeah, it looks hideous up like initially, right? But then we start deleting out that first layer. And then that second layer behind it. Yeah, now we have our own corner staircase. This was not that hard to do. I mean, it's a lot of setup. Once you have the roof, the first like roof stairs set up, you pretty much don't need to worry about anything else with the catwalk blueprint. It's really easy. And this is just that in practice. Like, as you can see, I can just place that puppy right there. I'm going to remove the top layer. And I was able to slide it in, no problem. I didn't have to put a roof down below underneath that one because I was going to surround it by foundations, but you can. Now for our next trick, we're going to do roof stacking, but we're going to do it a lot thinner. And this is going to be for the wall blocks and wall stairs. And so all we have to do, this is actually even easier because we're not going up as high. We're literally going wall, angled roof, half wall, angled roof. And then we're just flattening everything. And what this does, now with a normal, if you were doing this to stack roofs or roof stairs, you'd get a lot of flickering on the sides of the roofs, and you wouldn't get that same height that you need in order to build the stairs up fast enough without like reaching the end of your build without being a full length, like full wall height. But yeah, it's essentially the same methodology here. But it's even easier because we took out basically 2 steps out of this. So angled roof, half wall, angled roof. Flatten both, remove, and then just kind of walk it down. We're going to do that 2 more times. Because again, like I said, I think 5 is my magic number for this. Yeah, that's super easy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now I'm just going to blueprint it. I've got they've got their neighbors next to them, so they're not going to snap out of place, fall out of line. It's like an HOA. Like, I hate HOAs, but like this way, you know your neighbor like is not going to like act a fool. Let's just make sure we can place it. There it is. And yeah, no problem. Just like with the last one. Now we're going to do the same catwalk thing that we did before, but it's going to be thinner. So again, I kind of moved through this one a little bit faster. But the same methodology applies. We angled that roof up, added the half wall, added the catwalk, destroyed the catwalk, and then added 2 more. And we just keep dropping it down. I usually destroy that catwalk up there. You don't have to. Well, you have to destroy this catwalk, but I usually destroy like that next grouping of catwalks because it just makes it easier to work. In the last one, that's what I did, because like they're less prone to snap to the broken catwalks. They still can, but it's a little easier. See how much they want to snap to them now. But again, you don't have to destroy the second pairing. Just that first one every time has to be destroyed. If not, when you remove it, the other catwalks that you just placed are going to go away too. 2 more, and then we can go have some funs with some floors. Destroy. By the way, by now you've seen that there's a new intro. Please let me know what you think of the new intro and outro in the comments. Just trying to change it up a little bit. And then we've got 1 more to go. See, when I removed that catwalk, see what happened? The other one deleted. So now I'm going to destroy it because I don't want to have this blueprint be all janky. There we go, 1 and 2. And now I can flatten that. I'm going to end up removing those anyway. Just delete that catwalk, delete the wall, and repair these. And then I'm going to blueprint them. So essentially what this did is it made the catwalk spacing between each catwalk a little bit thinner than the other blueprint because they needed to be. You do, depending on the floor, you do get just a touch of flicker in certain spots, but it's really not bad for the purposes of doing any kind of like what you saw with the build where I did the with the roofs and I made the bank out of that. I mean, you could do the same thing essentially with the floors too, and have big bricks of floors instead of walls, like as something like super unique. But just making sure we can place that blueprint. Placed, looks great. And now we're gonna get to the meat and potatoes of these floors, which I use the half floors for this. You could totally use full length floors, and then use like whatever texture or like floor covering that you want to use. But that's what the block will look like. So let's get started. And this is also why, like, you can do, I could have added more catwalks there, right? To get my blueprint a little higher. But for now, I'm going to do it 5. These things are a little bit of a pain to get to, like, lay flat on top of each other. I'm going to start from the bottom. It's really touchy. Really touchy. But I was able to get the second one on. They're way touchier than, like, the roofs are. The roofs play a lot nicer in the sandbox than these floors, but you can see I'm struggling a bit. Again, you only really have to do this enough to get the blueprint. Once you have the blueprint, you won't have to worry about much anymore. There we go. I think it's because the floors have a stronger connection to bond with them or snap to each other than they do the catwalks. That's my theory as to why there's more of a struggle there. Or it could just be that there is too many connection points and it's trying to connect to the thing that seems most logical. And I'm just blueprinting them. And then watch this. Whoop. I realized immediately, but I wanted to show you anyway. This is why we have our neighbor, our next door neighbor, our twin, however you want to frame it. But instead I can just add that blueprint there. But yeah, so I'm gonna blueprint all 10 of these floors. And then I've got my first rendition of a floor stack. So now what I'm going to do is I place that one. I'm going to add more. We're going to go ham. Get that to be a little higher. And again, this is why you don't have to go super high with the catwalks, because you can just make, like, snap the blueprint to itself, like a new blueprint to the one you just placed. And from here on, it gets a lot easier, right? Because we don't have to do any kind of weird finagling with the catwalks themselves. But we can grow that puppy to be pretty much as high as the blueprint will allow, like that, within the blueprint's budget itself. It's just the same process over here. And then once you have it to your height, all you're going to do is just make sure it has its twin next to it or neighbor, and then you'll be able to blueprint them all together. So don't go past the halfway mark with your blueprint on height, because if you do, then you won't have enough to blueprint the twins that you need to be able to place that blueprint correctly. So that would be the next evolution in this blueprint. We get to phase 2. And this is what it's going to eventually look like. Like, I did kind of a half-ass job making it look like it was in a camp. So I made this block right here. You saw how to do that already. And I'm just stacking up these floors, and I'm going to blueprint them all together. I could have gone up a few more as far as the room on the blueprint, but there wasn't really a need to. If you're building a full set of stairs, you will need to probably take it to the max that the blueprint will allow in the budget. And we can just remove the old ones now that I placed that new blueprint. And then I'm removing the twin or the neighbor item. Alright, now we get to have a little bit of fun with the stairs. So, the next thing we're going to do is I identified that I wanted to use the smaller floors right here. I'm going to snap that one in. Now I'm going to add a catwalk above it to the very next floor. So you just got to make sure it doesn't have any gaps when you place it. You'll see sometimes it's just going to happen and you have to do it again. Not a big deal. So then I remove the catwalk. I add a floor and a floor. So basically every other floor I'm doing the catwalk thing. 1, 2 this time. If I can get it to snap. Again, it's a little bit tricky sometimes to get it to snap to each other. But as you can see I went up 1. But once it's connected, I can just kind of slide them down like so. And there we go. Now I can remove the catwalk. I've got my first set of stairs. I'm going to go floor next. I'm going to kind of do this fast mode. You can use bigger floors once it starts getting out further, right? To get it where you need to be. And yeah, so these floor stairs are going to be really great for those larger builds, especially if you need to fill space, because they are going to take up a lot of space. The other thing these are good for too is if you want to do, like, say, floors that match your foundation, right? Because you could do the larger floors similarly to the way we did the roofs, and you could just use the bigger ones, and then each step would match whatever floor treatment you were using or for your foundations. But what you see here is I'm actually getting a little silly with it again. And I went off to the side because we're going to make an L shape. So I went from the back side, and it just same rules apply. I'm just changing the direction of the stairs, essentially. Again, once you have this where you want it, Yeah, I wouldn't go and delete your. You can delete your catwalk blueprint, um, but I would save your roofs or your roof and your floor stacking blueprints because those are really nice to have in case you just want a very unique element. Um, but save your initial like five stairs that you did that blueprint, and maybe when you make an L-shaped one, you can save that. But as you saw, you can just kind of dive in and just do a custom version of whatever you go with. So you know the key one that you want to save really is the five stair or five roof, either one. Like the five one is the key one you want to save because you can always grow it. But like if you delete that, then you're just gonna have to go through all this again. But really, it's not hard. It's just procedural. Like, there's nothing in what I'm doing here that's like a mind-bending technique. There's going to be builders that are like, oh, okay, that's what he did. All right, not end of days. This is pretty easy. And there's going to be some of you that are like, wow, this is really cool. Hopefully, everybody thinks it's cool. I mean, I think it's cool. But either way, you know, there's nothing here that like screams like, oh my goodness, I need basically a Bethesda physics degree in order to do this. You can also do this with like the quarter floor pieces as well. So, and as like we talked about, like the buddy system or you know having the neighbor, right? You would just make the quarter floor piece the neighbor. So if you want like a really low profile version of this, you can have that, and that could also look really cool too. Just as a heads up. The only catch and the thing that I don't like about these like half or quarter upper floors is the fact that they don't have a lot of wall like treatment choices. All right, so anyways, we're going to go ahead and remove that first block, and now we have our stairs, and now I'm going to add my neighbor to each stair, the twin. And I'm making sure that they're all like the wood grain is facing the correct direction too. Last thing you want to do is like get all the way through it and then have one that's going like kind of the wrong way, because if you're like me, it's going to bother you till the end of days and you'll end up probably redoing the blueprint to some extent. I'm just continuing to add those. Again, if you want to do like the corner or like the smaller pieces, this is about where I would do that right here. At this phase, I would make that the neighbor would be like a half pint neighbor. I also realized too, and you're gonna see it, I missed a step. This is why I said, you know, make sure you're backfilling and double checking your blueprint. So before I removed those, or after I removed those, my first block of floors, you're gonna see right here. So it's not often that I like screw up in a tutorial and then keep it in the tutorial, but for the purposes of this, I think you guys get how this is done. Look right there, those last two. I'm like, no, why would I do that? So, anyways, not a big deal. Not end of days because I'm not going to, you know, I would have had to redo part of that blueprint there, but for the purposes of this, I'm not going to. I just blueprinted without the top two that were not touching the other stairs. So from here, what I'm doing is I'm adding a foundation and I'm adding a catwalk. Reason for this is the catwalk is going to allow me to place these perfectly onto that to where it lines up with that foundation. So I can also move this foundation down just slightly, so that way it's like it's right, you know, it's not like sunk in. But I think that came out really cool. And that is how you are going to be able to do the upper floors as stairs in with the new Relaxed Building update. I really like this. This is something that I know we have all struggled with, wanting to be able to do more with the upper floors. And we just haven't been able to, because out of all of the building elements we have, upper floors being one of the most basic is also one of the hardest to work with, especially with sky camps. I have found that you can remove these upper floors in sky camps now, so no more fear of, oh my god, I placed a ladder on a ladder, or I placed a ladder on these floors and I can't ever get rid of it, Moon, and I'm absolutely screwed. What can I do? And I tell you, sorry, that sucks, and yeah, you're gonna have to restart your build. You won't have to worry about that anymore. And they walk up really smooth too. Like, I'm not like speed running through these. Like, I just kind of, did my normal walk up there. They're smooth. to walk up. And again, you could do the smaller ones, and then you're not taking up as much real estate. But I think that's a really, really unique and fresh approach to doing stairs. So there's more I could have covered in here. I could have gone through like basic tutorials like merging or, things like that. I didn't really touch on that much because there's not going to be as much of a need for that. But as you see, there's still a need for a lot of these blueprints, a lot of the trickery. There's still like functionality where it's going to help you. And most of it has to do with alignment and being accurate with the way that you place your items. So that way they're pixel perfect, right? You could have done those stairs just by kind of slapping them together, but that they wouldn't be right. They would all be kind of discombobulated. So anyways, that's this tutorial. I think this is a great place to start for those looking to venture into the new Relaxed Building update. I really appreciate those who watch this. Hopefully you were able to get something out of it. Hopefully you get to see the potential that the new update has. In the meantime, y'all stay safe, stay blessed, and have a great day.